At this point, I'm going to turn over the microphone to our, for this town hall debate, to our moderator, Ellen. She will do a coin toss to determine which candidate will respond first in our debate today.
So would you like to go first? All right.
Candidate Mayor Crowell has chosen to go first. At this point, Mayor Crowell will be invited to do an introduction.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks to the senior class and the junior class government for hosting this candidate debate and forum. A little bit about myself. I'm a graduate of 1963 graduate of Carson City High School, where I happened to be student body president. After that, I went on to become a veteran of the Vietnam War. Also, I'm a retired lawyer, and I'm a retired Navy captain. I was born in a place called Tonopah, Nevada, a mining town in Tonopah. I came here when I was about 9. I didn't know what grass was until I came here, because in Tonopah all we had was dirt. Carson City's done a whole lot of things for me. Primarily, when I was growing up here, Carson City School of Education gave me the opportunity to attend Stanford University, where I got a degree in economics, and later I got a degree from Hastings College of the Law, a doctor of jurisprudence. I was also drafted in Carson City during the Vietnam era, and that's a good thing for a lot of different reasons. I ended up in the Navy, but I also met my wife on a blind date on New Year's Eve in San Francisco when I was going to Vietnam. And we've been together ever since. My wife and I have raised 4 children here in Carson City, all of whom have gone to Carson City High School. After I graduated from law school, I came back to Carson City where we were raising our family, and I have had several positions with the state government and local government. First, I was the chairman of the Colorado River Commission, where I served 5 terms. The Colorado River Commission is a commission that allocates water and power off the Colorado River, and was also instrumental in creating the Southern Nevada Water Authority. More in my profession as a lawyer, I've been state bar president. There were about 6,000 lawyers in the state, and closer to home here, I was on the school board for 11 years. I've been president of the Rotary Club, president of the Chamber of Commerce, and for the last 7 years, I've been mayor of this great city of Carson City. My vision for Carson City is to have a community that has a strong sense of pride, a strong sense of place, and a strong sense of belonging. A community where a community that is family friendly.
Excuse me, your time is up.
Oh, a family friendly community where all of you would feel good coming back here. Thank you.
Mr. Carver has 2 minutes now for his introduction.
Good morning, and thank you very much for letting us be here today to talk to this group. It's probably the most well-attended forum we've had during the campaign. If you're an honors student or an AP student, you're not going to relate to this, but I barely graduated from high school. I came from a broken home, and at 18 I joined the Army, and I spent 24 years in service to our nation in active duty. I started off as a military policeman and an enlisted person. I went to night school to get an associate's degree to qualify to become an officer. I got a commission. About halfway through, I'm Special Forces qualified. I worked in the national security arena for some folks that you might have heard of: Colin Powell, Senator McCain, a guy named Rumsfeld, and his aide, Deputy Cambone. These are people that I met with on a daily basis working on sensitive projects that guide our future. So I'm telling you this because my background is much like yours. I came from a teenager with an idea of what I wanted to be when I grow up, and it evolved over time because I took advantage of opportunities. I'm here in Carson City because I took a job with Homeland Security, the federal Homeland Security, to help the state program here. And my wife and I, who is my high school sweetheart, so if you think your dates don't count, they do. This is a woman that has been with me in my heart for my entire life. So things matter when you're young, and it's all about creating opportunities and taking advantage of them. I'm running for office. I'm not a politician. I'm a citizen activist. I want to see change for Carson City that provides a better quality of life for all of us and takes care of the things that your parents paid for with their tax money. Thank you. Bye.
Mayor Crowell, you're first for the first question. If Nevada ballot issue number 2 regarding recreational marijuana passes, how do you see it affecting Carson City? And do you support or oppose this ballot issue?
Well, let me say, first off, I definitely oppose the legalization of recreational marijuana. I chair Partnership Carson City here. Partnership Carson City, the steering committee for Partnership Carson City is made up of judges, DAs, Chamber of Commerce folks, school folks, alternative sentencing folks, juvenile folks, the whole broad spectrum of people in Carson City. Unanimously, they oppose the legalization of marijuana. Let me say, one of the reasons is we looked at what happened in Colorado, and you'll see that in Colorado there was a 48% increase in marijuana-related traffic deaths. Youth users raised by 20%. Hospitalization rates rose by 5,000 cases. 168 children were treated for marijuana poisoning, of which the average age of the children so treated were 2.5 years old. The overall crime rate increased by 12%. We can expect, in Colorado as an example, we can expect the same things to happen here, which would mean an increase in our health problems that we have. We can expect an increase in law enforcement. We can also expect to see an increase on our court system. And we can also expect to see an increase in usage of other drugs. I don't believe that marijuana, recreational marijuana, should be legalized. Medical marijuana is quite different. Medical marijuana is enshrined or is part of the Nevada Constitution, and we do have that in Carson City, but we should not have recreational marijuana. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Carver, you have 2 minutes.
Question 2 is bad law. It was written by the marijuana industry to promote their agenda, and that's not good for Nevada. It will directly control the ability to affect commerce within the state. It provides for a major growth in the cost and composition of our government. That means more cost and taxpayers' money to make things run. And it'll have a major impact on our local social services and will likely not increase the criminal black market. And I have extensive experience in the war on drugs. I walked the cocaine fields of Colombia. I've seen drug trafficking routes through Central America. There's no upside to trafficking in drugs. It was written by the proponents of the marijuana industry instead of legislatures, so this is not a law for the people by the people. It will create a minority or a monopoly among a small group of investors that run the marijuana cartels. It will increase the cost, as I mentioned, to local and state government. And the revenue that's supposed to go to the schools only takes effect after we paid for all the administrative costs associated with making marijuana legal. The social impacts, as you heard just recently, drug usage primarily amongst our lower economic groups that have access now to a broader range of drugs. Colorado and Seattle or Washington are having problems with edibles in teenagers and even kids as low as grade school and accidentally in daycare. It'll impact on our health and safety, not just your driving, but who cooks your food, who operates the machinery, who does your taxes. These are people who may or may not be high that morning or the day that they talk to you. So think about the impact on your life. And as the mayor mentioned, there's no upside in Colorado as far as law enforcement goes. This is not good for us. We need to look at decriminalizing minor possession because simple possession on the street equates to the same engagement in law enforcement that we see for...
Mr. Carver, your time is up.
Thank you.
Stop. There will now be a period of 1 minute rebuttal. Mr. Crowell, or Mayor Crowell, you first.
Now, this isn't really a rebuttal, but one of the major drawbacks of the marijuana initiative is it does not provide any opportunity for local control. In other words, it is something that, and we do have that over medical marijuana to a certain degree, but when it comes to recreational marijuana under the ballot initiative, we have some zoning, but other than that, we have no control over how it's sold, implemented, or anything of that nature. And so, from a government standpoint, from a regulatory standpoint, it will be very difficult to deal with in our community. So that's one of the bigger regulatory hurdles that I think that this initiative poses to us, that we have no ability to determine, other than zoning, which I don't know that we can even zone it out. But it's difficult to regulate and deal with things in your community if you have no control over them. Thank you.
Mr. Carver now has 1 minute.
So that's exactly right. This takes away the ability of the local governments to control the availability of a substance that may or may not have addictive qualities, but it certainly has social impact on all of us. So that's not a good thing. The other part of this is that the availability of marijuana should be managed by the people who are mostly affected by it, and that, in our case, is our city. So while it may be entertaining to think that you have personal freedom to use marijuana, we don't allow that for any other substance. This is one of those. We've seen it ruin the economies in places like Seattle and Denver for folks that don't want to engage in marijuana, and I don't see an upside for us. So think about it before you vote on this, that there's second order effects that have not been accounted for in the language. Thank you.
Mr. Carver has the first response for question 2. The new renovations to the downtown corridor came at a cost of $11 million according to our research. The new bypass freeway will be opening soon, which may affect the downtown businesses since traffic will be diverted away from downtown. What plan is there to keep those businesses alive downtown and to also spur the growth of other businesses in downtown Carson City?
Let me start with a negative. It is not the purpose of city or federal or state government to ensure the success or modify the failure of any business entity. We have a responsibility as the capital city for our state to provide a quality environment for just that, the legislature and the capital city. This is not the purpose of the downtown to keep a business owner or property owner afloat. Whether times are good or bad. However, having said that, the downtown right now is I have an $11 million remake. But since 2005, the city of Carson City has invested over $100 million in various schemes to promote the downtown, and none of them have met with success. This is why we had this most recent one. I believe that the success or failure of the downtown belongs in the private sector, and it is the purpose of government to provide a level playing field to allow those businesses to succeed or fail on their own merits and not be artificially propped up by tax money.
We had 4 lanes going through here. I remember when we had diagonal parking in Carson City. And I remember when they put the medians in. I've talked to the mayor who was in charge back when the medians were there. Carson City is the capital of the state of Nevada. It is important that our face, look, act, and feel as though, exactly like what Nevada is trying to do with the economic diversification that's going on in northern Nevada. We are the state capital. We should be attractive. Downtown should be a place to go to and not just through. Carson Street historically has been a United States highway, US 395. With the opening of the bypass, which will open June 1st of next year, it's no longer a United States freeway or highway. So it only makes sense to do something to make sure that we get people off that freeway, that go to the bypass freeway, that will allow people or incentivize people to go to and not through Carson Street. Let me say some statistics. One, we anticipate that when the freeway opens, there'll be about 1,000 car drop from today on Carson Street from what it is today. There'll be about a 20,000 car drop on South Carson Street. There are things happening in downtown Carson City that I believe are very positive. One, we have a mixed-use development going up at Curry and Telegraph Streets. That'll be commercial, residential, and office space. We have an entrepreneur center in downtown Carson City. That's the Adams Hub. We have 2 antique stores. One just opened. We have a facade improvement program in Carson City. And we have a lot of different events such as Epic Rides and the Ultra Marathon that happen here in Carson that bring people downtown that will incentivize people to come down and use the facilities down in Carson. Thank you.
There will now be a 1-minute rebuttal. Chris Carter.
The $100 million investment came from a Carson City staff report on development in 2015. So it's not my number, it's the city's number that the mayor should own. As I mentioned before, we cannot dictate the use of private property for tourism, for restaurants, for lawyers, for any other business. And we're attempting to do so in downtown Carson City by restricting the traffic flow for gas stations and drive-up restaurants that need that availability for traffic. We've narrowed the road, we've made it harder for those people to do business, and that's a negative outcome. Business will follow the opportunity for commerce. And if you don't believe that's true, look at the property values for those properties that are adjacent to the freeway exits, which have now become the most valuable property in Carson City, simply because that's where the money is. That's where business goes. And it's not going downtown. But we do have an obligation to take care of our capital city. Thank
Mayor Crowell now has 1 minute.
Part of my campaign and part of my vision for Carson City is to make sure that we have a sustainable community over time. A sustainable community means that we attract people of all different demographics, people of all different ages. And one of the things that people look at when they're thinking about moving or residing in a community is pedestrian-friendly and a bicycle-friendly community. That's what downtown Carson City provides. That's why it's important that we have, if we're going to create a family-friendly community, we need to have a walkable, pedestrian-friendly downtown. And we're not trying to force things on folks. We went out and did a survey where we will market certain things that to people, such as delis, specialty foods, bookstores, restaurants, ice cream shops, and independent retail shops. That's not forcing anybody to do it, but that's saying that's what a survey of all our residents indicated that they would like to see happen downtown. So the Visitors Bureau will be talking about that our community would like to see those happen there. That will happen through private enterprise. Those are good things. That's what the future is all about. We can't go back in this community. Thank you.
Mayor Crowell, you get first on question number 3. In your opinion, what is the #1 problem facing teens in Carson City, and what is your plan to address this problem?
This is an interesting question, and it's difficult to quantify, but my sense, and you all would know better than I because you're in it, my sense is that probably the #1 problem facing folks like such as you in this room is stress. Stress of personal relationships, stress of being able to make a living, stress of family life, stress that your family doesn't have enough funds to support you, stress over tests, stress over deciding what you're going to do in the future and how you're going to do it, stress over people telling you you've got to decide now what you're going to do, all those things. And it's my personal opinion that the digital world, we were all told to put our cell phones and earbuds away when this started. My personal opinion is that the digital world, as that goes faster and faster, that just aggravates the stress that all people, not just teens, all people experience in this world, because it means that we have to answer these things now. There's a sense of doing that. So I think, to overcome those, I think we need to have a number of outreach programs that will educate parents and teens about, what we can do to cope with stress. One of those things is to make sure that we include our youth groups in all our charitable organizations. We include our youth groups in all our arts and culture events, and make sure that there's enough sports for to go around for everyone. It's not going to be the be-all and end-all, but here's a statistic. Partnership Carson City told me that they had a suicide awareness program for middle school folks. They had 140 people. At the end of that program, 14 of those students stood up and said that they wanted to go see a counselor because either they or someone they knew was having difficulty coping with stress and may have had problems with suicide issues. So that's my sense of what's going on down here. I'd like to hear from you at some point in time about what you think the #1 problem is. Thank you.
Mr. Chris Carver now has the floor.
I think part of the number one problem is the perception of a lack of opportunities for young people. And that includes your ability to influence the way that your city is run and the things that are afforded to you in terms of services and retail outlets and job opportunities, the full gamut. So I think there's a sense amongst our young folks that you don't have those opportunities. And unfortunately, it's exactly the opposite. I talk to folks that have bridged the gap between high school and maybe didn't go to college and are now looking at careers that pay well, that provide for them the things that they want: family, children, car, house, those kinds of things. And I don't think we're doing a very good job socially preparing you for the skills that you actually need to survive. The focus has been on college and STEM and entrepreneurial success at the expense of achieving an attainable quality of life. Part of that is that you set realistic goals. Part of that is us enabling you to get what you need to achieve those goals. But college isn't a guarantee of success. Education and perseverance are. And if you talk to the folks that are making above minimum wage here in Carson City that have lived here all their life, that's the core issue. Can they make a living doing what they want to do in a city that they love, that we love? And the answer is yes. And you just have to have the opportunity and the chance and the education to get there. Is it a 1 in a million chance for you to be a rock star or a pro ball player? Probably. It's out there. But real life happens here in Carson City. And I think that it's your ability to influence that, especially at the age of 17 or 18, that matters now. And you don't have a voice. So I'd like to help you get one and keep one. Thank you.
Mayor Powell now has 1 minute for rebuttal.
Yeah, I don't know if this is exactly a rebuttal, but let me just expand a little bit upon some of the things that are happening that I think are important for our community, and that is the creation of a culture of entrepreneurship in our community. I think maybe some of you have been through some of the entrepreneur classes here at the high school. I think entrepreneurship teaches critical thinking. It teaches people how to cope with life. And so, you know, I'm a big proponent of creating a community where entrepreneurial skills become a fact of life and a part of our culture. And I do think that at some point in time, those things don't happen overnight. But if we start in grade school and move on up and realize that everyone can be an entrepreneur no matter who you are, and realize that that's a way of thinking, it's a way of putting pieces together, that we'll be a better community as we go forward. Thank you.
Mr. Carver, you now have the floor.
I do agree that we need to cultivate the entrepreneurial spirit. But let me tell you this, and what you already know, is not every entrepreneurial idea is successful. I recently heard a quote, and I wish I could tell you who said it, but I thought it was spot on. We don't need more stuff. What the world needs is better stuff. And if you're one of those people that can produce better stuff, then more power to you, and I want to help you get there if that's your goal in life. But I'm also looking at a better lash up with our private sector that allows for local industry to develop the skills that matter here at Carson City. We're going to look at growth, commercial growth, construction growth, opportunities for you to employ not just the skills you learn here in high school, but also in college. So we need to have an avenue, a venue for you to be able to promote yourself. And I think that is part of the responsibility of city government, is to give you the opportunity to be successful on your own merits. Thank you.
Mr. Carver will now have first response on the next question. In regards to ballot issue Carson City number 1, do you support or oppose the 3-cent tax increase proposal on motor vehicle fuel that would be used for building, maintaining, and repairing roads and highways located only in Carson City?
All right, if you read my platform, then you know that I'm opposed to this tax increase because I think that we have poor management in government. Federal, state, and local taxes account for 52% or 52 cents for every gallon of gas that's sold in Carson City. And yet, We spend $2 million for salary and benefits for 22 personnel in streets and roads, and we cannot define today what they do on a daily or weekly basis. I think that's wrong. Until we can define how much money is coming in, where exactly it goes, and what we get out of those 22 employees, we shouldn't be asking the taxpayers to pitch in another 3 cents for 10 years, I think it is, that it can go up to 30 cents a gallon based on the consumer price index. But before we ask you to give more, we have to ask the city to do the right thing first. We need to account for and use the money before we raise the tax. We need to detail out the cost and build a plan to fix our roads that doesn't rely on a variable like the fluctuating price of gasoline, and that impacts your ability to get to and from work, to and from school, to and from home. That puts the burden on you to fund the roads. We need to address our critical infrastructure first. We need to ensure that growth and development pay their fair share, and they're not. And we need to raise taxes only as a last resort. We shouldn't go to you, taxpayers, every single time we want to fund a good idea. Thank you.
Mayor Powell, you now have the floor.
Well, here's where you'll find a significant difference, because I do strongly support CC1, the indexing of fuel taxes. We are trying very hard to make sure that this community is a community for the 21st century. We need a road infrastructure that meets the 21st century. Historically, roads, maintenance, and construction are funded through gas tax. Yeah, in Carson City, there's a little bit of sales tax, but it's mostly gas tax. I drove here this morning in a hybrid. I used to have a diesel truck. Gets 12 miles a gallon. Now my car gets 40 miles to the gallon. Tesla is coming up here in northern Nevada. We now have electric cars that don't use gas. Somewhere, because gas taxes are the major source of funding, somewhere there has to be a revenue source that compensates for the lack of sales of gas as we go over time. It's just a fact of life. It's a math problem. And if we put our head in the sand and don't do anything about it and complain about things, we're never going to get it fixed. Let me just give you a couple figures. In 2005, when the gas tax, when the economy was at its peak, our gas taxes were at $3.47 million. 10 years later, it's now just shy of that, $3.37 million, so we haven't even made up for that. Estimates show that even if we were to fix every road in Carson City, it'd be somewhere toward north of $80 or $90 million. Federal gas tax, it's not Carson City alone that has these problems. The federal gas tax, I don't believe, has been raised since 1993. In terms of prioritizing and fixing our roads, we've created a citizens committee called Traffic that looks at all of our roads, prioritizes that roads, and looks at our funding issues so that we know that what we're doing and what we're putting on the roads is transparent and does what is necessary to make sure that Carson City is indeed ready for the 21st century and you to come back here and live it. Thank you.
Mr. Carver, you now have 1 minute to respond.
Mayor likes to pick on my diesel truck. I get 17 to 21 miles to the gallon, so I'm okay with that. Here's the thing. We owe the state of Nevada almost $7 million for the freeway. We imposed a nickel gas tax several years ago to pay that debt. The board, with the mayor, decided that they were going to legally vote to change where that money was going and what it was allowed to be spent on. So this isn't a problem that started last night. This is a problem that's been going on for decades. And if the mayor really wanted this to be a priority, then he would have addressed it over the last 7.5 years instead of this month. I think it's been a problem for decades. And so do other folks that are running for office. And so do you. If you live on a street that has potholes and cracks in it and your curbs are failing, then you already know that we haven't done our job running this city government the way that we should. We spent $250,000 this summer to do turn off my
Mr.
mic.
Carver, your time's up.
Mr. Crowell, or Mayor Crowell, now you have 1 minute to respond.
me just give the straight skinny on the 5-cent gas tax. Yeah, we do owe the state about $7 million more for our share of the freeway. However, we don't have to pay that until the freeway is completed. That means an interchange down at the beginning of Highway 50 going up to Spooner Summit. That interchange will not be constructed now, but it probably will in the future, but it's not on anybody's drawing books right now. That means that Carson City will not have to repay that $7 million until sometime in the future that's undefined. And it's probably not going to happen in my lifetime. Also, it's difficult for me to understand how, people can complain about government when they don't take the time to come in and really take a look and talk to our folks about what has actually been done. I'm very proud of what our streets and highways folks have done, and I think you should be too. Thank you.
Mayor Crowell, you have first on the next question. What kind of activities or events would you propose to or support to keep teens involved and out of mischief in our community?
Where'd this question come from? It's a good question. I'm just kidding you. Let me say, one of the things is to stay out of mischief is sports programs. I think Mr. Carver mentioned it earlier. That is that we need to make sure that we have enough sports programs to go around for everyone, so that we all have the ability. Everyone has the ability to participate in sports. Recreation is good not only for the brain, but it's good for your health as well. I think we can do more things in Carson City, such as jogging and biking events, such as the Epic Rides event that happened this past summer. Epic Rides, as many of you probably read, was the first of a 5-year program. Epic Rides just received the National Off-Road Mountain Bike Race of the United States. And we also have the ultra marathoners who run 50 and 100 miles on some of our trails. I think those things all are, benefit our youth who could participate in some of those events. I also think we need to have more involvement of our youth in our arts and culture events, band, other things, all kinds of arts and culture, more family events, and we've just created McFadden Plaza where we can have a whole lot of family events, more club activities, and more involvement. I know many of you in this room are already involved, more involvement in our charitable organizations. Everything to get involved in, not only for your health of your mind, but the health of your brain, health of your body as well. And I think that there's a lot of things that we can do that are available in Carson City. It just takes a little bit of effort to come out and categorize what those are. And the big thing, I think, is to not only do something for yourself, but do something for your community. And if you do those things, I think you'll stay out of mischief and you'll be a big benefit to our community. Thank you.
Mr. Carver?
So I wrestled with this. First, I wanted to know which teen uses the word mischief, and I also realized that you guys probably didn't write this question. So are you prone to mischief? I don't think that you are. You're prone to boredom, just like I was when I was your age. So one of the things that I learned over the course of 35 years of service to our nation was that people benefit from a sense of belonging to something that's bigger than themselves and a sense of achievement. And we don't have opportunities for you to do that regularly here outside of your youth groups. So some of the things that we could do is promote the cultural activities, the fairs and the festivals that allow you to demonstrate skills in 4-H, FFA, arts and crafts, community-based art, auto shops, woodworking, crafts, machining, and agriculture. There's community gardens in other municipalities. We don't have them here in Carson City, but we could. Sports and recreation, maybe during the summer, not really a date night activity though, is it? Auxiliary and volunteer opportunities.
Moving on to question 6, Mr. Carver gets first. What impact, if any, do you see for Carson City with the business development of Tesla Motors in Reno?
I think if I were a senior in Carson City High School, this would be the most exciting time to be here. This is nothing but opportunity. And whether you have your eyes set on a high-paying job with Tesla and an extreme technical or engineering thing, know this, that the growth of Tesla will impact us and this community to a lesser extent. There is no Tesla effect that will make you instantly rich and let you buy your car of your dreams and the house that you want, but it will provide you with the opportunities. The demand will increase for many core and ancillary businesses, including construction, maintenance, service, retail, transportation, training, and education. And I'm not talking about attending class, I'm talking about teaching class. I'm not talking about mopping floors, I'm talking about doing engineering design for buildings and making sure that heating and air conditioning work. These are technical jobs that don't require college degrees and investment in CAD/CAM, etc. to do STEM. These are things that you can do now straight out of high school and give you the opportunity to figure out where your place is in life. All of that is about opportunity. It's also going to increase our discretionary spending, which teens have over $211 billion of discretionary spending power in the United States alone. Now, you don't have that. I don't either. But you have access to retail, sports, food, entertainment, consumer services like photography, woodworking, jewelry, pottery, etc. That's where you can spend your money. Those are all growth opportunities that you can, if you're motivated in that direction, can provide a business platform for and grow your mind. So, thank you.
Now you have 2 minutes.
I think what you're seeing in Northern Nevada is a epic diversification, both demographic and economic, that we've been trying to do in this Northern Nevada for over 30 years, probably longer than you've been born. We're finally seeing it happen. But I want to call your attention to something. You heard Mr. Carver talk about the government should stay out of private enterprise. But then he talks well about Tesla and the opportunities that are going to come here. Tesla didn't come here on its own. Tesla came here with over $1 billion of tax subsidies, your money. So ask yourself when people start talking to you about government should be involved or not be involved, how is it that you could be against spending on one side, but then when the spending comes for another thing like Tesla, it's okay to do that? My own sense is that we need to do these tax incentives like Tesla in order to move Nevada into the 21st century. It's time we moved away from gaming. It's time we moved into the tech world. That's where the world is going. And let me give you a couple examples of what Tesla means and Switch and Apple and Microsoft, what those mean. The governor's housing summit about 2 years ago indicated that we can expect the Tesla effect on houses to be two Carson cities worth of housing units. That's about 40,000 housing units over the next 5 to 10 years in Northern Nevada. That's a big effect. We won't see all that in Carson City, but what we will see are people who want to have a quality of life that is kind of a mix of urban and rural, or it's a little bit slower than what you see in Reno, but it has excellent schools, an excellent quality of life, excellent trails, and a pedestrian-friendly downtown where people want to live and raise their families. We are particularly capable of handling any effect that Tesla brings here, and frankly, I'm looking forward to what it does. And I'd like to say I'm proud of what the efforts of Western Nevada College and its efforts for workforce development. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Carver will have 1 minute for rebuttal.
I hope that none of the words came out of my face that said that I supported giving incentives to Tesla. I did not. Nothing to do with that. What I am saying is that the private sector is driving development, not just at Tesla, but here, where we're going to build new homes, where we're going to put increased traffic on our road, where we're going to increase retail, where we're going to increase data management, where we're going to increase educational requirements because there are going to be new kids that have to go to new schools. So there's an effect there. But as I said before, it's a great time for you to be alive. It's nothing but opportunity. Whether you choose to avail yourself of what Tesla brings to Carson City, is significantly different than what Tesla will bring to Nevada. What you choose to do will last you the rest of your life. Tesla may come and go, as they did in Fremont, California. So it's not just that. It is you and your ability to respond to the demand of the marketplace and where you want to be. Thank you.
Mayor Powell has 10 minutes to respond.
What you just
The saying was that, yeah, I like the Tesla effect, but I don't support how it got there. I don't support paying for it. Well, how do you get one and not the other one? That's the question. So I think when we get to these things about tax incentives and bringing businesses here, let's all be realistic about it. Let's be realistic about it. If it brings good things like Mr. Carter indicated, the Tesla effect would bring, let's own up to it and say, yeah, it's a good expenditure of taxpayer dollars. That's what brings Carson City. That's what brings Northern Nevada into the 21st century. That's where we should be. And I'm proud of the governor. I'm proud of our college system. I'm terribly proud of our school system here because we can keep up with that. That's where the United States is going. That's where the globe is going in terms of global economics. That's where you folks will be the leaders, and God bless you for doing it.
Now, for question number 7, Mayor Powell will have first response. Do you think the candidate for mayor should continue to be a nonpartisan office? Would there be any benefit to making a candidate run under political party affiliation?
Is this on?
Yes.
Well, I don't know where this question came from either, but if you look at my mailer, you will, that I sent out earlier this week, you'll see a picture of myself with Governor Sandoval talking about the benefits of nonpartisan operations in local elections. Nevada law requires or provides for nonpartisan elections in all cities in the state of Nevada. I'm a strong supporter of that. I believe, and I've operated as the mayor of the city. Leave your politics outside when we come to the door. At the local government level, we don't have any place to go. If things don't work, you can't blame it on anybody else. It's us. It's us that are accountable. We're in charge of providing a quality of life that provides the basics for people. Water, sewer, parks, cops, fire folks. All those things are core public safety, public issues that are required in order for us to have a quality of life and to live. Those issues, I believe, cross party lines, and they should cross party lines because they're all necessary for us to live. And so, for those reasons, I believe that the issues related to that, to those types of services, can only be solved if we work together. And I'd like to think that we've done a very good job of doing that in Carson City. And I encourage you to work together as you grow up to make sure that we have all of our public services done in a way that, again, is attractive for the 21st century. So I'm a strong supporter of nonpartisan elections for local elected leaders in cities. Thank you.
Please save your applause for after. Mr. Carter, you have 2 minutes.
So let me clarify something to begin with, is that the mayor's office is a nonpartisan position, but Bob is a registered Democrat and I'm a registered Republican. So the nonpartisan myth is just that, it's a myth. We have our prejudices and our biases. It's a nonpartisan position, but we elect for values, not labels. Just because you're a Republican or a Democrat doesn't make you automatically suited for office. Voters want a candidate that they can identify, that, as I mentioned, you have the same values. Party affiliation is just one factor in what makes me candidate for mayor and what makes Bob the mayor. Uneducated voters are the risk. If you don't take the time to look into your candidate's qualifications, their value system, the things that they believe in, the things that they support, and yes, even the things that they criticize, then you don't really know who you're voting for. That means that you have to do your job as a voter and do some research. An assumption of position based on party affiliation is a flawed logic. So I'm hoping that you got that during the course of your studies here at Carson City. And a nonpartisan position in our city government keeps the national political arena out of local politics. Being the mayor, being on the board of supervisors is about taking care of our city and the people that live here. It's not about political labels. Thank you.
Mayor Powell, now have 1 minute.
I think Mr. Carter and I agree on nonpartisan elections for city leaders. And let me just say on a political standpoint, he mentioned that I'm a registered Democrat. I live in a nonpartisan household. I'm a registered Democrat. My wife for 45 years has been a registered Republican. I've got D's, R's, and I's as kids. And it's important we all get along. And that's kind of how we run the city here as well. It's important to build bridges in our community. It's important to thank those who do good things, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, or none of those. It's important that we show mutual respect for each other as we go through life. It's important that we don't tear down people, but try and raise people up in this world. And so, yeah, I'm a strong supporter of the nonpartisan elections. I'm a strong supporter of making sure that we respect everyone in our community, regardless of political viewpoints or whatever. And that's why you heard me say early on, for me, a sustainable community is one that has not only just a
Mayor
sense
Powell, your time is up. Please
has a good sense of mutual respect. Thank you.
So I had a hard time with this question because the word making a candidate run under a political party affiliation. If you looked at your ballot, your sample ballot for the primary and then also for the general, if you're a nonpartisan, you have less choice, and elections are about choice. My platform, my position is about empowering the people of Carson City to have a voice in the way that their city's run. All of you, not just some of you, not just one or two of you that belong to my favorite group or my favorite party, but all of you. And limiting yourself under some label, whether it's Republican, Democrat, or nonpartisan, is not a smart move. You have to be educated. You have to know what you're doing when you step into the ballot box or to the polls. And you have to trust that you're going to elect the person that's going to do the right thing to represent your viewpoint. So I'm okay with the nonpartisan position. I think it's very important because it's about us. Thank you.
As we've gone through all the questions we had pre-planned, we will now open the floor for 1 or 2 questions. If you'd like to ask a question, please come up to the front.
My name is Jesse Session, and I think this is a great thing. My question is for question 2. You were talking about how these these weed-related things have happened in the hospitals. Multiple things have happened in Colorado and Washington, where kids are being sent to the hospitals with because of the edibles, most likely. Would you say that this could be fixed with PSAs and other things like on TV or something? Could this be fixed by that?
So Jesse, I think that's a great question, but let me ask you this. Do you think PSAs work? And the answer is no. We still have kids that drink bleach. We still have kids that drown in swimming pools. We still have people that drink and drive. We still have adults and teens that use illicit drugs. So PSAs are part of it. Education under the mantle of PSA is definitely part of it. It is not the solution because a PSA to a 5-year-old is significantly different than one to somebody your age and significantly different than one to somebody my age. And the thing that we're looking at in Seattle or specifically in Washington and Colorado is that the people that are not receptive to education, that are not watching the PSAs, that are not taking parental guidance and the information they get from school and the state and law enforcement and billboards, are ingesting these drugs in quantities that cause them to go to the hospital. And that's not good, whether it's marijuana, heroin, or alcohol. It's just not a good thing. And if you're on the backside of that, it's a hard road to recover from. So I think you have part of the solution, but the solution is not PSA. The solution is what you alluded to, is education. And that's why we're here. Thank you.
Mayor Powell, now have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. In all things, education is valuable. We've fought drugs for a long time, and not certain that we all know the answer about how to deal with it, other than one, reaching into our schools and teaching children at an early age how to be responsible and how to make responsible choices. And I think that, PSAs, well, what Mr. Carver says is correct. They're not going to hit a 5-year-old, but they may well hit a parent. And it is part of the solution for attacking not just, recreational marijuana, but drugs in general. The drug issue, you all would know better than I. I mean, you're in school here. The drug issue is a serious issue. We do our best. From in partnership Carson City, we went through a long process of trying to stamp out methamphetamine use. As soon as we did that, the heroin use went up. As soon as we stamped out heroin, cocaine use went up. I'm not certain I know what the actual answer to all that is, but I do think that the question has part of the solution: education. Not an easy societal thing to deal with, but at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we educate our young folks to make the right choices in life. And choosing drugs, I don't need to tell you folks, choosing drugs is the wrong choice. Thanks.
Then we'll proceed to closing remarks. Mr. Carver will start.
I want to thank you again for coming here this morning. Some of you obviously were tortured and made to come here, and some of you are here willingly. But let me tell you what this real election is really about. It's about you taking control of your lives, about you taking control of the opportunities that are being presented to you when you leave high school. If you don't vote, and Carson City has a horrible reputation for voter turnout, we have lots of folks that are registered and then don't go to the polls, and we have an odd number of folks that do go to the polls and then don't vote for local candidates. If you allow that to happen, if you encourage that with your peers and your friends, then you're letting somebody else dictate your future for you. You're letting somebody else decide where your tax dollars go, where that investment is, what we will and we won't do with your city. This is your town. You grew up here. You own it. It's time for you to step up and make a choice. And if that choice is not me, I'm okay with that, because I'm about democracy, about enabling you to have the power to determine what your future will look like. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
And now Mayor Powell.
Well, first, let me thank all of you for hosting this forum and candidate forum. Let me thank Chris Carver for coming and participating with us, and his wife, she's over here as well. You heard me talk today a lot about community, a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a sense of who we are, a family-friendly community, a community that looks out for each other. And I'd like to end with a real-world example of what the power of community really means and really can do. A couple days ago, the young son, 11-year-old son of a mother who'd gone through the Circus program, I'm on that board, to get working folks out of poverty. His son was 11 years old, being picked on in school, being bullied in school, was dropping out of school, was dropping out of the Boys and Girls Club, was being rude to his parents, rude to his mother. In all sense, this 11-year-old boy was going off the deep end. He was in trouble. He was in trouble. There was one call to the sheriff. There was one call to the sheriff, to Sheriff Furlong. And here's what happened after that one call. Within 24 hours, we had no less than 6 groups focused on this one 11-year-old teen, 11-year-old child, not a teen yet. We had the sheriff, local school officials and teachers, local health officials, juvenile services, state health, and the Boys and Girls Club. Within 24 hours after that, this young man was back in the Boys and Girls Club, back in school, and he had the sheriff's personal phone number, so if something went wrong, he could call the sheriff. That's what community is all about, folks. That's what I envision community being all about. That's how we get along in this world. When things get going tough, it gets going faster, things get difficult, that's how we get along. That's the power of community. That's what we can do if we have a community that, one, recognizes issues when they come up, deals with the personal issues, and is based on mutual respect. And that's what makes me proud to be a Carsonite, to live here in this beautiful community. And it gives me hope for all of us in this community that we can all do better in life, regardless of how old you are.
Mayor Crowley.
So thank you again for having us here today. Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes our first ever town hall debate here at Carson's, and I look forward to hosting many of these in the future. I need to give a couple of thanks out this morning to our moderator, Ellen Scherpesky, and our timekeeper, Princess Visionary. I want to sincerely thank both of our candidates who are running for mayor of Carson City. I've been here for 14 years. I look forward to being here a lot longer, and I'm excited for what the future holds for our city. So thank you, Chris Carter and Mayoral for coming today.